first discussion we started in our 8 o'clock hour with Dr. Amy Alamar. Now, if you missed it at 8, it all stemmed from what a mom recently posted online. She asked this question: is buying a $66 makeup palette for a 9-year-old madness? Now, the daughter wanted to spend her own money, her Christmas money, and buy it on her own. The girl claims that all her friends had it. The mom, she gave a firm no on this, and a lot of people supported her, questioning why a 9-year-old was wearing makeup in the first place. But there were also others who suggested the opposite, like this one here. I'm not sure if we have it. The one response here was, I'd have bought it for her too, being that the child that isn't allowed the latest thing is horrible. Christmas and birthday money gifted to them is theirs. They should be free to spend it as they please. As adults, we waste money all the time, yet expect our children to be perfect. Now, this mom's experience, I'm just using it sort of as a springboard to a bigger discussion. Now, what do we do when our kids want to buy something with their money that they saved up for that we don't think is a smart choice? I mean, It's kind of opening a whole can of worms here, because in this situation, it was about a makeup palette, an expensive one for a 9-year-old. Now, the makeup issue aside, there bears the question, do we let them blow their money on whatever they want?
Yeah, and
if it's not going to be harmful to them.
Yeah, the response was actually really interesting, because we do want kids to make some mistakes, right? We do want them to test the waters and then teach them. When it comes to money, people feel really funny about talking about it, so it's important that you have the conversation, because the more you talk about it, the more comfortable your child will become with choices. And you're the parent, so you can say no. If you feel a decision about buying something goes against your values or your morals, or you just don't like the idea of it, you're allowed to say no.
And one thing that I thought you told me the other day was interesting. Don't feel bad about saying no. Yeah. You're the mom, you're the dad. That's your right. A lot of times parents feel guilty about telling the kids no.
That's right. And sometimes those nights where you go to bed and you feel guilty or you're a little bit frustrated, you've probably done a really good job. So give yourself a pat on the back and start fresh in the morning.
Right.
So it is okay to say no, especially if that purchase is not something you value and you think the child needs to learn that.
Right.
Now that said, it's their money, and as they get older, they may make those purchases in the end. And the important thing is not that they did or didn't make the purchase, but that you've talked about it and taught them how to make those decisions. Because as adults, we do have to make important decisions about money, and we have to teach them, why do we budget? Why do we think about the next step? So that's what we really want to focus on, rather than whether or not they actually bought it.
Right, because the next instance, it might not be makeup, it might be an app, it may be $200 shoes or fast food,
And it's fun to splurge, and you can teach them that point of it too. So, I really do want to splurge, but I don't think maybe this makeup is the appropriate way to do it. So let's find another way for you to splurge. Or if you really want makeup, let's give that a month while I get comfortable. Or you really want to upgrade your iPhone, let's give it a month and really see how you would use it. So you can kind of teach them about waiting and not impulse buying, which is another good lesson.
And I guess it's important to remember, if you tell your kids you're not going to buy something and you say, but if you want to buy it yourself, then you save up your money. Be prepared, because they could do that. They're going to call your bluff and say, I saved up $300 for a PlayStation, so let's go get it.
That's
true.
So
at that point, you have to stick to your word. You gave your word.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, you should always stick to your word when possible. However, if you kind of made it in a passing comment and you said, I thought about that, and I really want to think through the decision more, I think that's a fair argument to make.
So maybe think about it before you put it out there and say, if you want to spend your own money on it, then you go ahead and start saving.
Yes, it's always best to think before you speak, but we do fall victims sometimes.
What do you think is a good way to help track your kids' expenses when they start to have their own money and their own cash or expenses, or a debit card?
These days it's so easy to open up an account and see it online. And now that kids have phones at younger and younger ages, take that money out of the piggy bank when they're in late elementary, maybe middle school. Put it in a bank account maybe of your own. Let them watch it grow. Let them see what does savings look like. Then as they get their own job, and please, remember that kids having jobs is fantastic. Whether it's a neighborhood job, picking up mail for someone or mowing their lawn, or actually going out and doing a retail job. This is a wonderful way for kids to learn responsibility.
And that can start early, like with neighbors, or even in your own home, if they've got their chores. I know my kids have their own things that they have to do, just being part of the family and living in the house. But if they want to do extra projects.
Yeah.
And they can earn $5, $10, $20 here.
It's wonderful. And then they learn, and then they start to get their own account. And so it's different with different banks, but
Sure.
let them get an account and watch it, you know, and then when they spend the money, they have to actually physically take it out. It really teaches them, and it's so easy to watch online now. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's really good advice. We do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Again, the whole makeup thing, that's going to open up a whole other can of worms, and maybe we'll get to that
Yeah,
in a
that's
future
another show.
Family First. Exactly. But Dr. Alamar, thanks so much. We always appreciate your insight.
Yeah, thanks
and
for
help.
having me.